A tragedy has shaken the law enforcement community and the city of Kansas City, Kansas. On the afternoon of July 26, what began as a routine response to a domestic disturbance ended in heartbreak. Wyandotte County Deputy Elijah Ming, only 34 years old, was shot multiple times while performing his duty, a civil standby call that quickly turned into a deadly encounter. Deputy Ming, alongside an officer from the Kansas City, Kansas Police Department, responded to the call around 3:30 p.m. local time. The intent was not to arrest, interrogate, or investigate, but to keep the peace during a civil situation. These types of calls are common, low risk on paper, but as every law enforcement officer knows, danger can escalate without warning. As the two officers approached the residence, gunfire erupted. Without hesitation, Deputy Ming was struck. The situation shifted from controlled to chaotic in a split second. A man inside the home, later identified as 38-year-old Shawn Harris, opened fire, targeting the responding officers. Ming went down, gravely wounded. Immediately, a wave of backup responded. Officers and deputies from across the area rushed to the scene. They were met with more gunfire. The suspect was not surrendering. He was not negotiating. He was fighting. A firefight ensued. Law enforcement officers returned fire in defense, trying to suppress the threat, trying to protect their fallen brother, and trying to ensure no further loss of life. In the gun battle, Harris was injured. He then barricaded himself inside the home, refusing to come out. What followed was a tense standoff. Negotiators arrived. SWAT was called in. The perimeter was secured. Neighbors were evacuated or told to stay indoors. Helicopters hovered. The quiet residential street became the center of a full-scale tactical operation. Inside, Harris was wounded and alone. Outside, dozens of officers waited for a resolution. Hours passed. Then, finally, a breakthrough. Harris emerged from the home. He surrendered without further resistance. He was immediately taken into custody and transported to a nearby hospital for treatment. But for Deputy Elijah Ming, time had already run out. He was rushed to the hospital from the scene. Emergency medical teams did everything they could. But his injuries were too severe. The bullets had done irreversible damage. And just hours later, the announcement came: Deputy Ming had died. The community is now mourning the loss of a man who wore the badge with pride. Elijah Ming was more than a deputy. He was a public servant, a protector, a friend, and a son. He gave his life in service of others, a sacrifice that echoes painfully across his department and far beyond. The Wyandotte County Sheriff's Office is devastated. Flags fly at half-staff. Squad cars are draped in mourning bands. Tributes pour in from neighboring counties, law enforcement agencies, and citizens who may never have known Ming personally, but understand the weight of his sacrifice. Governor Laura Kelly offered condolences, acknowledging the tragic loss and the dangers officers face every day. Police unions and sheriff associations across the state have voiced their support. A memorial fund is already being organized. Plans for a procession and funeral are underway. The suspect, Shawn Harris, remains hospitalized. Charges are expected to be severe, likely including first-degree murder of a law enforcement officer. The investigation is being handled jointly by the Kansas Bureau of Investigation and the Wyandotte County Sheriff's Office. This incident reignites difficult conversations about domestic disturbance calls and the unpredictable nature of law enforcement work. Civil standby calls are considered routine, often used to de-escalate disputes, retrieve personal items, or mediate tense situations. But routine does not mean safe. Deputy Ming walked into a situation to protect others, and paid with his life. His courage, his selflessness, his dedication will not be forgotten. In neighborhoods across Kansas City, blue lights glow on porches tonight. Strangers offer prayers. Officers hug their families a little tighter before heading to work. And a department begins to grieve one of its own. There will be vigils. There will be salutes. His badge number will be retired. His name will be added to the wall of honor. But most importantly, his memory will live on in the hearts of those he served and those who stood beside him. Deputy Elijah Ming gave everything. And today, the city stands still to honor that ultimate sacrifice.